Okay, so welcome to our fourth Sunday of Advent Joy, and thank you for joining us in this weekly special virtual service series that we've been doing, myself, Reverend Julia, and Reverend Janice Cary. And I'm so surprised, well, I guess not surprised at how fast that this has all gone because I can't believe it's already the fourth week and we're coming up to Christmas Eve and then Christmas. And joy is the focus this week. And I think that it's perfect. I kind of started out this week thinking, you know, a lot of traditions have love and joy kind of reversed. And
Oh, do they?
joy, yeah, and joy is the third week, and then love is the fourth week. And I was like, it's funny how we do love on the third week because I never knew which color candle to light on the third week. Because joy, if you research joy, the joy candle is the pink candle,
Ah,
but you light the pink candle on the third week because it's the halfway point of
right.
Advent.
Uh-huh.
So our last week is joy. And then, as I'm kind of like putting everything together, um, and reading the Advent booklet, it's like it really does make sense because joy flows from the heart and we open the heart with love. So I've got it now where I understand the flow a lot better. And that's where I've gotten with it so far. But joy is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I'm excited for this week.
Good. When I think of joy, it's kind of like joy is knowing that you're living from faith and you feel the peace and the love you surrender. You got to surrender into love, right?
Yeah.
And then joy is the result of the surrendering into the love because joy is when we know who we are.
Right.
We're
Right.
clear. We're clear on who we are. It's knowing who you are because you know who you are. You have released all of the pettiness and the fears and the concerns over the dramas. You are just filled with God awareness, which is joy.
Yes, God awareness. And that was a big shift into just seeing that, we opened this even this week of Advent in the Advent booklet with a definition of joy, not a
Uh-huh.
Charles Fillmore definition, but they put in like the Theopedia definition about joy being a state of mind and an orientation of the heart and a settled state of contentment. And then I went to Charles's definition of joy, and the part that just stood out to me is a really short definition, but essentially it's the happiness of God, right? It is the happiness of God. So it is that settled state of contentment because joy exists in the absolute. It is a state. It's not that fleeting emotion of happy, right? It's that deeper sense of well settled contentment that really
Yes.
we only access through our connection to God, right? That's where that exists and where it always comes from.
And the joy has to come from within us.
Yeah.
It's not something that is given to us. I like
Yes.
where it says in Isaiah, you shall go out in joy and be led back in peace. The mountains and the hills before you shall burst into song, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. It's being able to know that everything we see is an expression of the I am, which means it's an expression of who I am
Mhm.
as an aspect of the godlike. So yeah, they put it very anthropomorphically, and you can kind of see through the animate and the inanimate objects that it's filled. So they clap their hands. Yes, you see us, you're seeing us.
Mm, I
You
love
know?
it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know. Um,
Uh,
It's like again taking it back to the busyness of the season, right? And I like how the author that used that verse points out that, we have this kind of thing with happiness as a society where we use productivity as the standard for happiness and success. And when you're in that environment, when we're in that environment that culturally has brought us up, it's no wonder we get swept up and into the busyness and things have to be a certain way. And,
Um,
thinking that we have to go out to get something to experience our joy. Um, and
right.
it's a whole different approach to everything when we come from our I amness, because there's never anything out there to get, as
And
you
there's no
said.
hurry, and
And
there's
there's no
no hurry
hurry.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like somewhere where it says, and joy comes in the morning. It's before
Ah,
we get, it's before we get too wrapped up in things of the world. And it says joy is,
wake up with a new awareness, right?
yes, you wake up with a new awareness. Exactly. Joy is a sense of expectation grounded in the truth of our wholeness. See, you have to know who you are to experience that type of deep, grounded joy, contentment,
Yeah.
that all is well. And and then I think it's like the mountains clap because they see and we're anthropomorphizing this, I understand, but
Yeah.
the mountains clap and the birds sing because, oh my, they woke up.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know who we are,
And
humanity.
it's and it's that's right. And then that is anthropomorphizing it, but it's also metaphorizing, what goes on within our consciousness.
Mhm.
It really is, and when we go up the mountain, we change the perspective. We experience that when we go into meditation and prayer. Oh my God, the like singing songs so many times in my life, singing has been my meditation that has allowed me to access joy. And I think people get inspired to joy with song, and that's a whole day in Advent is that power of song. And it's so true. So when we use the birds chirping, it's like that beautiful song metaphor because it does spark. Well, I shouldn't say spark, it uncovers. For me, it's more a feeling of uncovering joy. I mean, a lot in my life, music and song has
Yeah,
been that way to access, to uncover joy.
I like what we say. Kathy says, and I say, singing is praying twice. It's like
Yes.
praying twice. It does. It lifts us. It lifts our vibration, as does chanting. You
Yeah.
know, it's anything to raise up the bliss factor.
I know. Or singing in the shower or driving in
Yes.
your car by yourself.
Yep. Yep. It's you take the time to. You can only be in the. You can only sing in the moment.
Yeah.
So when you're singing, you're in the moment and you're dropping from here to your heart,
Mm.
and you're also listening to especially if you're in a choir, you listen to each other, and you're making one joyful noise, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Very my
think
favorite.
that's this, it goes into, well, Charles Fillmore's definition goes into, the happiness of God, but he adds that it's the happiness of God that is expressed through his perfect idea man. That settled state of contentment comes into it, that it's not changing, but there's the element of expression of joy. I think when we access, there's a peacefulness about joy, that it is a settled state of contentment, but the expression of joy is beautiful, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
that's part of what kind of is a theme woven in through the stories through this week of Advent, is to notice, because in every day and everything that we go through, there are expressions of joy if we just stop and look for that, to have that intention to see joy, because it's just a reflection of the joy within us, but it's always
It's
there.
kind of like in the other traditions, but in Buddhism, one of the stories is if you look at a flower, it's a whole sermon.
Mhm.
Because it's so just expressing a flower is so enlightened. It's just expressing its beauty. It's lifted up, and that's, I think flowers bring us such joy. It's expressing its own innate beauty and joy. So
Yeah. That's perfect.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
To think,
And
and that's a different way. Could somebody listen to us talking about this and say, "Oh, I've never thought to look towards a flower or nature or a tree as an expression of joy." Maybe we look for it in things like music, but we wouldn't think to look at the beautiful flower as an expression of joy. And that is a shift, that it uncovers a deeper awareness of joy within us too.
right, right. It's there. It's expressing the presence. And what I also like about joy is there is a presence within us, and that presence within us leads and guides our thoughts.
Mm.
It changes the way we think about things.
Mhm.
It changes our opinion about when we see beautiful things such as trees and flowers and forests. And we are so surrounded by incredible beauty and a symphony, a cacophony of the voices of God,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I see that, and I feel I feel intuitively like what Charles was saying about the happiness of God. It's that, you know, happiness, he says, through his perfect idea, man, right? It's like
Right.
perfect idea, man, woman, us,
Yeah.
right? Humankind, the perfect idea is like the masterpiece is done. It's happiness of God that it can't get better. It's the joy that we are that we are the masterpiece.
Yes.
It's not changing. It is done. It is done, and it is perfect. Perfect.
And we have to express it. So,
Yes.
God is like the pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And we let it express. And it might take our lifetimes to let it
Or
completely express.
several.
Or yes, yes, yes. But
Yeah.
each day, and I'm looking at December 21 now,
Oh yeah.
if we're willing, and I ask the Christ within to guide me, um, then I receive faith, peace, and love that I need. It is the joy of the Lord that gives me strength to stay with the faith, peace, and love.
Yeah.
They all kind of, which is back to why I appreciate joy being the last
Yeah.
quality, because it's a quality that has just, when we've discovered the faith, peace, and love, we bring it. And then we're also bringing a sense of joy.
This one's a good one. I really like, there. This is Reverend Peggy bringing in, the idea of we get tangled in trying to fix life's issues. And I
Yeah.
think that goes into trying to get happy, as opposed to being joyful. Um, because I think there's a point with all of these, what I'm inspired to hear is that we can be in joy and experience things that we wouldn't deem happy. I mean, right from the get-go, there's like these two extreme examples of having joy over the passing of a loved one and
Yes.
having joy over getting to eat Christmas cookies. And that joy is the same being in both of those scenarios. So you might not say that that's a happy experience of a loved one passing, but there's a joy in the peace that's found through the end of suffering. And but the joy is underneath. So that's so huge that it's totally separate from what we perceive as happy or not. It truly is the happiness of God, which is our way of being in joy, and that can be present in all things. It is present in all things if we allow
Yes,
it.
yes, yes. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a deeper form of happiness, isn't it? It's a contentment of
Yeah.
knowing. And you're still, you go back to in your joy, as we're living from joy, we can be with others and support them in just seeing them for who they truly are. We don't have to
Yeah.
fix them, you know.
Right.
They don't have to change for our happiness because we're in joy, which I think is a deeper awareness of who we are, knowing that,
Yeah.
you know. And
And
what
that,
joy is like celebrating the presence that I am.
yes. And I think that you hit the nail on the head in seeing the, everyone, being able to see others, everyone as also perfect idea, God's perfect idea and divine mind.
Because whatever is happening in our life is a direct reflection. The experiences we're having, we're giving it meaning. And so it's where we are on our journey to waking up to the awareness that we're spirit incarnate.
Yeah.
Because um, we know when we're spirit incarnate, and we absolutely are clear on that, and we have this joy, there's a sense of fierceless grace
Yeah.
that can allow the spectrum of the human condition to express, and we don't get taken away by that joy. I
Mm.
mean, excuse me,
Yes.
by
Yes, it's
appearances.
beautiful. Right.
We're centered. I'm reminded
To
going,
express the spectrum of human emotion and
yeah,
experience.
yeah.
Absolutely.
I was speaking to the lady who checks you in at the nursing home the other day,
Okay.
and she's relatively new, and she's really glad to be there. And her dad is actually in the unit where David is, so she's happy to work there. And I said to her, and she said she's really grateful for this job. It's a part-time job for her. And I said, well, you are in a very important position because you're the first person people see walking in this door, and you're bearing witness to a huge sacred time in their life of a human condition
Mhm.
towards the end, usually, of
Yeah.
their life. And it is such an honor that when you walk in here and you greet them with, kindness. I said, it's so important, um, what you're doing, and it's so kind that you're very welcoming. And she just loved that. She said,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm watching this human condition. They're not thinking of that.
Right. But
But
that's
it's a
what's
sacred
happening.
place. It's a very sacred place if we don't look away from it. It's part of the lifespan,
Yeah.
you know, and it's as beautiful as when a babe is born
Yeah.
and we're wrapping them in swaddling clothes. You're holding each other as they're preparing to go to their next, whenever
That's
that will be.
and that's a perfect, example of, have if you've had a baby, right? And having the joy and it's very present and you're very aware of the joy, but you're also scared.
Yep,
You're
yep,
also up and down, happy, uh, you know, questioning yourself in doubt. You do have the spectrum of human emotion. You go through all of it, but joy
yeah,
underlies that. So I think that's a huge moment that, you see that, you know, accessing joy and accessing this happiness of God doesn't mean that I'm only going to have happy feelings in my life from now on.
right,
It's just,
right.
yeah.
It's almost like I want to, not like I want to make any more separation than there already is sometimes, but to take joy away from the word happy
Yeah.
because
It's a
it's such a
distinction.
deeper, there's a distinction from it.
Mhm.
Um, we want to joy comes when we celebrate the presence of the light within us.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean anything has to be different. We are
Right.
just, we are celebrating this presence that we are,
Yeah.
this light that's living us. So that's what I love about it. It's when you come to realize that the Christ is born in you each day. This light is, we become aware of it. We can become aware of it every moment. It's not just Christmas. You know, I
Yeah.
love the word Christ Mass is the devotion to the
Yes.
light.
Devotion to the light.
Yeah, or the Namaste, which is another, or Krishna. And it's what I love about unity and its teachings. There's many paths for us to wake up to the light that lives us,
Right.
which is we call the Christ.
Yeah.
And so,
Absolutely.
and that brings such joy, to me.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful to have a new awakening and to share and experience a community that's committed to having their awakenings.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's what's happening all around us. And it's an honor to be present for it. I love this. I'm a new minister. So it's
You've been a
like,
minister many years, Julia. You may
yeah,
just become licensed through Unity,
yeah.
but you've been yes, yes.
Oh, thank
But
you.
your light, it is about allowing our light to shine,
It's about,
you
yes.
know, and
Yeah.
encouraging others through these challenges. And I was having a conversation with someone that I coach on a pretty regular basis, and she was getting into this thing into her head, um, that she does a certain amount of housework and he's not doing as much, and they're supposed to be changing, and they're supposed to be alternating, making the bed, doing this, changing the litter, and he's like not doing it so much. So she's all, concerned about what will happen in the future when they have a child. He's going to fall into these patterns. So we're talking about it, and I'm saying, what happens to you when you have your house just how you want it, with your bed is made, your candle is lit, you've done all that you want to do. What's it like for you in your house? She said, I love that. I love to come home to something that's pretty,
Yeah.
and then it's cleaned up, everything is in its place a little bit. And I said, well, when you know the truth of who you are, and you're coming from this ontological space, this space of knowing the Christ light within you, you do all that. You stop keeping score, and you do it because you want to experience it yourself. You're not doing it for them to do it in a different way. You're doing it because this is how you want to live. It's how, when I go to the church, I'm the first one to put the coffee on because I
Mhm.
want the smell. I want this. And
Mhm.
so I'm not doing it to get somebody else to help me. Although what happens is, a lot of times, is when they come, they start pitching in anyway. But
Yeah.
you live from the joy, but the keeping score. So her homework that week was to go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do the bed, do the chores that she thinks
Yeah.
they use she'd wanted to share with them. But do it because you want it done,
Yeah.
for no other reason. And see how much more clearer you are, without the story of it ought to be a different way, and he ought to pitch in.
Mm. A new perspective. Like that's so relatable. I've
Yeah,
been there. I've been in situations like that, and it's awesome to because what you're doing, because I love this advice in that shifting that perspective is kind of like a sneaky way of forgiving yourself
yep,
and
yep,
forgiving, the perceived wrong of the other person.
yeah,
It puts you in a new, because when you forgive, you're in a new space, you're in a new mindset. and you're allowing joy. So how cool is that? You know,
Right, it's true.
to
And
consciously be like, oh, I'm in a forgiving space, but that's exactly what you're creating when you're coming from a new perspective.
well, and America is such a beautiful melting pot of different cultures. And
Yeah.
these two are from two different cultures. Um, and she's comes from one that's very, very efficient and has to be done. And he
Hmm.
comes from a more laid back, um, things get done. And he's very creative, musical, and things get done, but it may not be in the same amount of time or efficiency or time management as she would like. So somewhere along the line, is there a compromise, or what's important to you? Is it really important to you to come home to know that your house is waiting for you? It's that respite, and that's what you need. I make my church like that. I
Yeah.
want to be so inviting, and I'm not keeping score on who's doing it, although a lot of people help.
Yeah.
A lot of people help. But you're modeling. When you start doing it yourself, you're just modeling a
Yeah.
great behavior. And whether they pick it up or not is, it's great.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And you have
I
so much
love
more going.
I love it. I love when we can really I don't want to say learn from each other, but grow together in those kind of
Right.
situations.
And you apply the principles of, well, would a child of God, a person who we know we're the light, we're presence incarnate, our qualities are compassion and joy and faith. Are we gonna get really bent out of shape because we make the bed every morning
Right. Right. Yeah.
when
Or
I want it like
anything,
that?
anything. It's you can apply that to so many
Mm,
scenarios, every
right.
little day-to-day thing. And even, coming into like now and the holidays and Christmas,
Yeah.
and my background is, Polish, and my Catholic Polish background is very strict around the holidays. So like my grandparents would do, it wasn't Christmas unless Christmas Eve they had like 13 fish dishes for the dinner, like that type of thing, very like traditional. And I have family that still adheres to those things very much. I've let go of so many things to kind of like form my own, and especially, marrying Arthur. My husband is Jewish.
Yeah.
He didn't have Christmas Eve. So,
How
you know,
rich that is that you get to combine.
it is
Yeah.
kind of, it's neat. You're talking about being the melting pot, like, oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
get that. I get that so much. And if we can just be open to, the moment, what's in front of us, and kind of seeing like kind of, that it's okay to do what works for you now and what has meaning for you now. Because the meaning is what's important, right? And it's like, if you do it for joy and for love and not, out of kind of like a superstition or because it's always the way we've done
Or
it,
manipulation, or trying to manipulate,
or
you
trying to
know.
manipulate.
Yeah,
Exactly,
or
exactly.
shame, or yeah, or look how much I work. Well, stop.
Yeah. But that being said, my husband's favorite Christmas Eve is going to my aunt, who really strictly adheres to the thing because he loves all the food.
Yeah, and he probably loves the ritual of it, and he loves it, So none of it's wrong, you
No,
know.
no,
None of it's
it's just
wrong.
fun. It's,
Yeah,
for
it's
me,
just
it
fun.
has to be fun. And then we have, my daughter who is, on holidays, it's like a split, she's with her dad, my ex-husband, her father. It's like, and then we have to do that whole thing where, you know,
Right,
then there's that put onto it. So, my Christmas and my holiday, my traditions, um, they look different every year. I love being in church on Christmas Eve, and this is the first Christmas Eve, that my daughter has said, Grace has said, that's my favorite day to go to church is Christmas Eve because she's done it every year of her life, and she remembers the candles, and it's just like it's become her thing. So I'm really, that gives me joy to see
right,
that.
right.
That's
Well,
something I think she'll carry on throughout her life, no matter what happens.
right, right. I think the best thing about traditions is that they can alter.
Yeah, right. And it's
Because the
okay if she
altar of
doesn't.
your heart will accept it. Whatever tradition it is.
Yeah.
If you place it on your heart and it goes into the world. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's oh, remember when Marie Kondo was really big? I mean, she still might be, but she had this show and she was all about like decluttering your physical space.
oh,
She would
uh-huh.
have if you were to keep something or to discard it, the measure was if it sparked joy.
Oh, I remember that. It does it
Yes.
right, right.
So kind of thinking like,
Well,
okay, is
yeah,
this thing that I'm looking at kind of like a vibrational match for my joy, you know? So she would help people get rid of a lot of things. And, you know, you don't have to just do that with a thing. You can do that with a situation, with,
yeah,
you know, your to-do list. Sometimes, you know, not everything that's good for us is always fun. That there's like the gym and working out and doing our commitments, but you know, life needs to be fun too.
right, right. So from the awareness of the joy, I think that this part right here is really important. When we when we are living from joy, knowing who we are, not keeping score, right? Then we can show up with, how can I serve today?
Mm-hmm.
What is mine to do today? Without the rest of it, you and in that mindset, you become the gift and the giver. That, like it
Yes.
says on here, you become the giver and the gift when you commit to showing up and sharing the Christ presence. That's what we're just doing. We're
Yeah.
bringing our presence as the gift. And
Yeah.
when we know we're the gift,
Yeah.
that's and so then and when on Christmas Eve and Reverend Juan is talking about the celebration of an Eve, I thought that's a very interesting way of looking
Yeah.
at it. Because you don't celebrate the eve of a birthday necessarily, or the you don't celebrate the eve of July 4th or something. But we celebrate Christmas Eve. And to me, it's kind of like telling us celebrate the preparation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, of
Preparation and that. Yeah.
the building of the faith and the peace and the love and the joy, which is our consciousness. Build that into our consciousness, prepare our consciousness so that we're like that beautiful light. Uh, our consciousness is stable so that the light can burn
Yes.
brightly, shine brightly.
Yes.
However, I love the metaphors of a
I
lighthouse,
love it too.
candle.
And it's the Eve part is that also, you know, there's that experience of the light is imminent. It's not now. So like even it's that reminder that even in our perceived struggles, in our, you know, very human challenges, that even in like the dark moments, the eve, right? The morning comes, there's an
Yeah,
expectation that the light is at hand, that Christ's presence is imminent. So I
right.
think that's, you know, that's important too, because people do struggle through the holidays, and that's a great reminder. It's that right here, you know, it's the essence and presence. There's an imminence of it. And if we can
Yeah,
just know that the sun always rises, the sun always, you know, comes again, that just like the divine light of Christ, that this too shall pass.
exactly. And we
Yeah.
live from that awareness, and we will absolutely experience much more joy in our life. We do not need to fall into the dramas and the traumas, but we can acknowledge and honor them as they, because we will all experience it.
Yeah.
We will
Yeah.
all experience, but we could also be there for each other. I loved last week when you were talking about the short spoon and the long
Yeah.
spoon. And those long spoons and short spoons are always with us, in us. And so we create our heaven and hell all the time, right
Yeah.
now, on how we see, what we give things meaning, how we see things.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
We can, it's our how we approach a situation is like from, how you say from the ontological perspective, because it's what is our way of being when we enter the room, so to speak, you know? Are we being love, peace, faith, joy, right? You can,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
right.
it does affect the way you see and to see rightly through the
And
circumstances.
finally, on the his WOM's second page, he
Mhm.
gives us four recommendations, and
Yeah.
he lists what these four candles are. The first represents the Christ presence within you and in all humanity. That's your
Mhm.
faith that Christ is in all. The second honors the journey we've taken, whenever we've completed something, the peace that we feel when
Yeah.
we're arrived, so to speak. The third casts light on the journey now, which is love.
Love
We
is
are love
present now, always.
always. And the
Yeah.
fourth, after asking and receiving guidance on what is yours to do in response to the challenges you face, light the fourth candle to affirm this is your Eve, the moment before a magnificent manifestation, which
Yeah.
is, the joy
Yeah, to
that
have that
comes.
expectation to be in joy, absolutely. I love that. I think that's nice for anyone who maybe can't make it out to a candlelight service,
The
but
joy
who
is in you. Yes, yes. You can
or
have your
candles
own.
home, you
Yeah,
know, that very, very reflective
yeah,
on knowing what is yours to do and expecting the miracle, the magnificent manifesting. It's great.
yeah. Manifesting.
Yes.
We have to wait on the Lord. That's the thing. In order to have this joy, in order to really experience it on Christmas Eve, we have to wait. Just as when we're actually giving physical birth, you have to wait for the labor, right? You have to wait for this feeling to overshadow us of this unconditioned love.
Yeah.
And we do that through dropping from our keeping score, going to the manger of our heart, sensing that peace that passes all understanding, and allowing and waiting for love to rise. And
Yeah.
joy comes.
Well, love is patient, and
Yes,
I
yes,
waiting on the Lord is an expression of love and hope because love is patient. We wait, and hope is the expectation of good.
right, right.
Yeah,
Well, this has been a really beautiful experience,
very
these 4 weeks with you, um, going deep, deep into the Advent story. It, I love Unity Principles because it
me
gives me
too.
the Bible in such practical ways to apply it when
Yeah,
we don't take it literally, but can see the spirit of it and
yes,
and really take in that Jesus said, "You are the light of the world."
yeah.
You are
The
the
light,
Christ, the light, you are the beloved sons and daughters of the one
beloved,
first light.
the first light. Christ is born in you, your hope of glory. And
Yeah,
we're here to save ourselves, and we have the
yeah.
power to do that. This is just it's a beautiful reminder to turn inward and know that.
And we're saving ourselves from the conditioning
Yeah,
that that has kind of overtaken. We live remote, we live almost rotely sometimes. We want to awaken from the trance of the world
yeah,
and into seeing what what stands under it all.
yeah, understand.
Yeah, what stands under it. Well, this is wonderful, and
Beautiful.
I wish you a very, very blessed Merry Christmas and a
Merry
very
Christmas.
sacred Christmas, and a healthy, prosperous, and wonderful 2023.
Yes, to everyone.
All of us. Yes, to
Yeah.
everyone.
Merry
Namaste. God
Christmas.
bless. Thank you.
Namaste. Bye.